Okay, so this is Esteban and Cesar's documentation blog thing for the robot. We got inspiration from the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. We were a fan of games such as Gyromite and Stack Up, so we decided to make a UI resembling those traits of 8-bit retro type games. So the first thing we did was make code for music for the background because we thought we're gonna have a UI resembling some of these retro games without having like cool background music. So we found a library called meArm and we worked on some code. So like right here we have sort of like nested functions just because it made it easier, working on separate like code and then putting it together, compiling it basically. It just made life easier. So this is some of the code that we used. Um, Basically, we use like buffer size to control like the different waveforms because we have like when we play this. Hold on, let me play this. Uh, all right, so the music's playing. Okay, right here we have a waveform and it sort of moves with the music. I don't know why it's frozen though, but basically the waveform represents like the different like sounds and things like that. So we thought that was cool. We incorporated that into the final product on top of the health bar, which made it look pretty cool. Another thing that we worked on was like a tab system. So basically, you could go from having an intro image onto a background image. So we worked on a tab system so you could have some content on one tab and different content on the other one. So I'll show you some code right now. Basically, right here, the question button that we made, we set it to the default tab, which is right here. So basically, when we made a button, we could put it on a global. So that would mean both of them, both tabs. We could have it on the default, which we would be the intro one, or we could send it to the extra, which was the second tab we made. So this was actually pretty cool because we could set up some key presses. So enter would start and set it to the second tab, sort of like press start to begin the game, things like that. And if you wanted to go back to the menu, then you could press a backspace. So that was actually pretty nice too. And so we after that we continued to make some more code, like the timer, different buttons, toggles, sliders. Some of the code that we made actually went unused, like the 3D hourglass, which would spin in 360 degrees. We didn't use that code. We couldn't really find a place for it. Maybe if we had like more time, maybe we would have found a place to put it. But at the end, we didn't incorporate some of the code because we just didn't feel like it was correctly placed. So, like the 3D hourglass, we didn't incorporate that. Um, and we just in general started putting things together, like the buttons, toggles to control variables. We added like a new area for the robot to be mapped, things like that. So the last thing we did was actually spend a lot of time on Photoshop. We created like 4 different intro and background images, and this is actually the one that we went with, the Mega Claw 2. I think it fits the project, so we went with that. And so the first thing that you can do once you enter or run the code is you get this image and you can press the question mark. And it says press enter to begin. So like I mentioned earlier, you can press enter to go to the other tab and backspace to come back to the menu tab. On top of here, we also have the menu and interface tabs. So let's press enter. Alright, so this is actually pretty loud. So the good thing about it is that you can actually control the volume. So with this slider, if you drag it to the left, it lowers the volume. You can also mute the sound and unmute. But let's just mute it for now because it's actually pretty loud. Um, and so we have a timer in the middle. You can increase time, decrease time, and then you could actually start the timer. Before I do that, at the top we have like this health bar thing, and we have the actual moving MP3 waveform. So that's pretty cool. And this little square, that's the new mapped area of the actual robot that we use it to control it. And so let's press start on the toggle and it'll drop the time. So right there, the timer is dropping, and that's pretty much it. We'll list the links to the code in the description and the blog also.